So I even heard people throw out a 1,000-year flood. So, man, if that was a 1,000-year flood, this is a 5,000-year flood.
The men standing behind me, they refuse to quit, they refuse to give up, and we will keep sending emergency responders out as long as everyone is not accounted for.
I mean, every time you see a disaster, it's a little bit different, and certainly I've never seen a hurricane disaster in Tennessee that has looked like this, not in the years that I've been here.
Let's be together. Let's be unified. If we are positive and pull together, then not only can we rise up from this, but we can overcome anything that comes before us.
This afternoon, communities are taking a look at the damage across Tennessee after historic flooding this week. We are live from some of the hardest hit areas.
WVLT News begins now with breaking news.
A major disaster and an ever-changing situation. Information continuing to come in about the deadly flooding that has taken over parts of East Tennessee. So far, 4 deaths have been reported in East Tennessee, including 2 in Cocke County. Now, we were the first to break into programming when evacuations began on Friday. We continue today with our team coverage. Our first alert meteorologist, Ben Cathy, is with us, alerting us to what's ahead. Our Kristen Allen is in Greenville with people who are already stepping up to help. Meanwhile, thousands are without power in Newport. We start with our WVLT news anchor, Casey Wheelis, in Newport. Casey, one of the hardest hit areas. What are you seeing in the area?
Well, Brittany, if you take a look behind me, you're seeing a house that is just, this whole side of it is completely blown off from the floodwaters, and it looks like it's about to fall down at any moment. We are just here in downtown Newport along the banks of the river, where it's just a lot of debris and a lot of devastation. Downtown Newport, the hardest area hit here in Cocke County when those floodwaters rose, and now it is cleanup. We want to show you what Newport looked like on Friday as those floodwaters came through. Rounds of rain from the tropical depression Helene breaching the dams from North Carolina, and that water flowing downstream. 420,000 gallons of water per second. The Tennessee Valley Authority says that's how much water is being moved through the Douglas Dam. And this is what Newport looks like now. The water has receded, but it has left a path of destruction. The police department, Newport Police Department, the City Hall, all of those buildings are now having to clean up. Some of these businesses, the first floor is just full of mud. I talked to one man who was helping to clean up over here. He said his whole forearm deep of mud was in one of these businesses he's trying to help. Now, this is record-breaking levels. In 1970, gallons per second. That was the highest level on record until this weekend. The TVA says on Saturday, 1.2 million gallons per second were flowing. And to put this into perspective, the Niagara Falls is right at 700,000 gallons per second. Now, that flooding overwhelming communities across our region. 4 deaths have been reported in Tennessee. More than 100 people are still unaccounted for. We're told they're hoping that's because of cell phone coverage. Here in Cocke County, though, officials tell us everyone is accounted for. Unfortunately, though, 2 people did die. Another person died in Unicoi County, where dozens remain missing, and 1 in Washington County. Now, we've also been closely monitoring the Nolichucky Dam. That was the situation that happened late Friday night after the Walter Dam scare. Now, that has definitely swollen rivers, and that has affected communities all the way from Hamblin County into Cocke County. Now, the TVA dam safety team says that these dams are stable and secure, but that was a different story Friday night when TVA did issue that red alert for imminent breach that has since been cleared. This is a look at some of the flooding around the Nolichucky, some of the river completely washing away entire bridges and cutting off communities. Now, here in Cocke County, as I mentioned, everyone is accounted for. Now they're focusing their efforts on recovery and cleanup. However, the concern in other counties like Unicoi and Washington County is that there's still people unaccounted for. They're hoping that that's because they can't reach them because of cell phone service. However, they are still searching for them, and family members are asking for answers now, trying to get any sense of relief to know if their family members are okay. Multiple crews from Knoxville in Knox County were deployed to Unicoi County today. These are members of the Knox County Rescue Team. They're in the Irwin area near the hospital. If you remember on Friday, we showed you where those workers were being rescued off the roof. They say the area they saw was catastrophic, and that is where we find our Jared Austin.
Friends, family members, and volunteers all helping with cleanup here in Unicoi County. This church right next to the Nolichucky River, as you can see, a little bit of damage on the side, but you have crews out here trying to help out with debris, and there's a lot of it. A lot of trees down in our area, power lines down. When we spoke with people in this area, there's actually a church organization who is helping out right now. They drove 40 miles to get here. They expect to serve hundreds of first responders and people living around here. When we asked them why they wanted to come up here, they just tell us it was their duty to help out.
As Christians, we know Christ told us to love our brothers and to take care of them. If we see they have a need and we don't show them love and compassion, then we're not being Christ-like.
We've reached out to Unicoi County EMA. They're still working on the process of cleaning up. Now, as for how many people are unaccounted for, according to state data we got, it's 47 for Unicoi County, and Washington County is another 62. Another note, right along the Nolichucky River, there were several businesses here and just in front of me, but all of them are gone now. And then this Baptist church still cleaning up. One of the words we keep hearing from people in Unicoi County is blessing. They're calling this a blessing right now. They can replace those items, they say. They can replace anything they've lost, but they're alive and so are their family members. In Unicoi County, Jared Austin, WVLT News.
So you can definitely see the devastation there in upper East Tennessee, and this is all caused by the same Helene that moved through in our parts to our east, Asheville, our roads. There are communities that are completely cut off because there's interstates that are washed away, including I-40 and I-26 in Irwin, Tennessee. Now, we also want to get to our Kristen Allen, who is live for us in Greenville tonight. And we are told there, Kristen, the issue is drinking water. That they're also having that issue here in Newport, but they in Greenville have already run out of water.
Yeah, Casey, no water here in town at this point. We are here at Trinity United Methodist Church. This is one of those places where folks are stepping in to help people out, and they don't even have running water here. But here's the thing. People are coming from all over, from Knoxville, from Asheville, places that are hit hard as well, coming here to help out folks in Greenville, try to get some sustenance until they can have some water again. Neighbors I've spoken to tell me at this point they're just trying to get by until they can get more water running again. Now, many parts of Greene County are impassable at this point. The video you're looking at is just before Allens Bridge Road in Greene County. That's what a lot of back roads are looking like at this point. Well, here at Trinity United Methodist Church, people are lining up to get water and supplies they need until the water is back on. Some tell me they're worried at this point, but they're trying to stay hopeful and that they can survive until they get running water again.
And so we just want to make sure that we're good neighbors and that we take care of each other and that we remind each other that we're going to get through this and we're going to take it one day at a time and we're going to be here to help each other out.
I just hope we can survive like this. Yeah, it's been hard.
Yeah, and you can definitely feel that devastation here talking to folks who are in need of help at this point in Greene County. Now, the Greenville Water Commission, they say they will allow you to get 20 gallons of water per household from them while those water distribution centers are open. Right now, it closed at 4 o'clock, so that is out for today. But Trinity says that they're going to stay open until folks stop lining out. And I'm going to step out of the way just a little bit so you guys can see. Now, this is the line here at Trinity United Methodist. It has subsided just a bit at this point, but earlier today it was wrapped around the building, folks coming in to get supplies they need, and just as soon as supplies comes in, they're saying it's going out. So if you want to help them out, you can come here to Trinity United Methodist Church. That's on Tusculum Boulevard here in Greenville, but for right now they are seeing a lot of folks come in to help and a lot of folks come in to get help. So we're going to be out here throughout the evening talking about those efforts that they're making to help folks out from around Greenville, Greene County, surrounding areas. But at this point, just a lot of impassable roadways throughout the county, a lot of devastation here, but a lot of hope at the same time.
All right, Kristen, thanks. And that's kind of what we're seeing here in Newport as well. Of course, the cleanup efforts are underway. Just spoke to a man from Bean Station who came in to help. And so there's people from the neighboring communities here to help out Newport today, but I know they're going to need a lot of help, including Greenville, all of these areas in East Tennessee. And if you want to help, we do have some information on that on our WVLT News app. We've got a list of verified places where you can donate things. What I'm hearing here in Newport, the main thing they need is water, as that is expected to be out for a a long time. We're expecting at least the rest of this week, maybe more. We do have our Lexi Lepoff that's working on that. We'll hear from her here coming up in just a little bit. But Brittany, I'll send it back to you. One of the things that I have noticed since I've been out here is a lot of smiles and a lot of people waving. One woman even asked if we needed any food, and she was in the middle of cleaning up her business. So I think this community is very resilient, and they're going to be okay, but they're going to need a lot of help from East Tennessee before they get to that point, Brittany.
It really is incredible the way that people are stepping up to help one another. Casey, thank you. The spirit of East Tennessee continuing to shine through this devastation. Casey, we will check in with you shortly as our coverage of Helene continues throughout the evening. Casey, thank you. So what's to come in East Tennessee? Our first alert forecast now with our first alert meteorologist, Ben Cathy. Ben, we are looking at some rain in the forecast, although the good news is it's light rain.
Yeah, this rain from Helene, but I want to put folks' mind at ease that this is absolutely nothing like what we had late last week. And a reminder that a lot of the flooding was actually caused by upstream record rainfall in North Carolina. Right now, that first alerted fog and rain and dark clouds mixing in with the very back end of Helene. So it went back into West Tennessee, and now it's starting to push out all the way through tomorrow. Some of these leopard spot showers. It could be really anywhere at any time. No real lightning, though. That's the good news for cleanup, although it's not the most convenient. And you start to see the showers petering out tonight as the balance of temperatures between the ground and the clouds starts to even out. But it's sunshine right now in Knoxville. 73 Sevierville, 73 Greenville, and 71 in Jamestown. Next few hours, we're going to hold down temperatures to the 70s and then work our way down to 62. But boy, does fog look extremely likely on your Tuesday morning. A few more sprinkles out there, and then some drier feeling air starts to move in. It's going to feel pretty nice by the end of the work week. Look at that big drop heading into next week.
All right. Ben, thank you. And let's get to our first alert traffic, as this is all part of that same story where we have lots of our roadways, major roadways, even in East Tennessee, that are closed now, and we expect that to be for quite some time. Ben made this map for us, and I think this really does help visualize those arrows that point up. That's really the path of the storm, and that does line up with, of course, the roadways that we are seeing closed, and there are several of them, too many to count, in fact. So we have that list for you inside the WVLT News app if you're trying to maneuver your way across that part of East Tennessee. Here in downtown, this is pretty typical, starting to get busy from 640 to 75, and then coming out of downtown, it is that time of day where we do start to see heavier traffic. Kingston Pike also starting to get backed up as people are pumping the brakes. That looks like it's matching up with those red lights. So out west, everything looking normal, but again, we do have that list of the closed roads that we expect to happen for quite some time inside your WVLT News app. Our live coverage of the flooding aftermath continues. We're checking back in with our Casey Wheelis live after the break.
Food. It's our thing. Nobody does food like Food City. This week, save on chicken breast tenders, Ritter Yukon Gold potatoes, Green Mountain or McCafe coffee, and more.
Rise right now with cryptocurrency.
It can sound like a good deal at the time, but the BBB says scammers call about these investment opportunities.
Tennessee's GPS law for felony domestic violence offenders gives victims options.
Thanks for joining us today for this WVLT First Alert Weather Day. We've got team coverage and information to keep you and your family safe.
And we begin.
East Tennessee's most trusted news source this week and next is WVLT News.
Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us today for WVLT News at 4 as we continue our coverage of the impact of Hurricane Helene and its mark it left on East Tennessee. We're joined now by our WVLT News anchor, Casey Wheelis, who's been on the ground today. Casey, walk us through what you're seeing. You're in Newport. This, we know, is one of the hardest hit areas of East Tennessee.
Yeah, definitely, Brittany. And I think we're in the hardest hit area of downtown Newport. It is hard to see now that the water's receded from the outside of buildings what it looks like, but the inside of these buildings and these businesses are devastated. Some of them are full of a couple inches, maybe even a foot of mud, but several feet of water rather engulfed them earlier just a couple of days ago. I'm going to step out of the way and kind of show you what is behind me. Now, this is a house that is on the river here, and you can see that the entire side of it has completely fallen off. It looks like that top story is about to fall at any moment. There is a canoe or a boat wrapped around a pine tree, and then over here closer to the river, you can see, we're told there used to be a pergola type situation with a swing. That is gone, as well as some of these green railings here you can see throughout this, what they call the downtown Newport River Walk. That usually is a little greenway that they walk up and down, and now it is just covered with debris. And this is some of the devastation we're seeing closer to the river. On the other side of the railroad tracks here, we're seeing a lot of businesses scooping out mud, and a lot of the fans going, trying to just salvage what they can of their businesses here in downtown Newport. Now, the big concern right now is water. The water treatment facility plant was damaged, and so right now the water is not drinkable. Many folks still without water. Newport Utilities actually declaring a state of emergency for its water operations. They say it could be weeks until service is back. Many today waited to get bottled water for their families, including one man we spoke with.
I've been saving up water because we got to bathe in it, we got to cook. I mean, everything. I mean, without water these days, you can't live too long without that water. I mean, it's a dire necessity.
Yeah, something you take for granted. Newport Utilities says it's a multi-step recovery process. We went on a tour today of the facility to see for ourselves what goes into getting the water back, and we'll share that ahead on WVLT News at 6. The good news here that we want to share with you is that the shelters here are empty. Everyone is accounted for here in Cobb County. That's not the case for Washington and Unicoi counties. There's still dozens of people that they're still trying to locate there. But here in Cobb County, we can say tonight, according to the mayor, that everyone is accounted for and those shelters are empty. Now, we know there's a couple of donation spots. Cobb County High School and Cosby High School seem to be two of the main spots for donations. There's also several places in Knox County and surrounding communities, Loudoun County as well, that are collecting water, and those officials will bring that this way. Brittany?
Casey, you've covered natural disasters before, the wildfires in 2016. How's this compare? What are you seeing on the ground there? What are you hearing from people who you're talking to?
Yeah, I think this is very similar to devastation that you see, from a tornado. While the devastation is different, it's still the same. People are without power, they're without water, and they're without their homes and businesses. One of the things that I just mentioned a couple of minutes ago, Brittany, that I think is important is how resilient Cobb County is. They've seen flooding before, they've seen things like this before, probably nothing to this extent, but there's a lot of smiles on faces, a lot of waves, a lot of neighbors helping neighbors, a lot of people telling me that they know they'll be okay.
Casey, we will check back in with you shortly as our coverage continues tonight. Casey, thanks. Let's get to our first alert forecast.
Your first alert forecast with meteorologist Ben Cathy.
Brittany, breaking news this hour, Cherokee Lake has climbed nearly 8 feet over the past couple of days, and that video, brand new from the Tennessee Valley Authority, they are spilling water on Cherokee for the first time in 11 years, and that enormous release of water is going to continue. Here's what you need to know. There are a few showers out there tied to Helene, but in a much weaker state. This is transformed into a different type of weather system. Spotty, scattered the next couple of days, and then we're gradually going to warm into the lower 80s. Here is live radar right now. We got a few of those showers kind of pirouetting through. You can see that classic counterclockwise spin like the face of a watch. 0.03 of an inch per hour, though, on average, so nothing too major. And this is Helene departing. It'll bring us a few showers tomorrow in the heat of the day as that imbalance between ground temperatures and up at cloud level really starts to spike, and that generates those showers, but nothing massively major as far as additional rain. But very high levels on many of our rivers, including the Pigeon, and then in the Black up in Claiborne County, a couple of the smaller streams as well. Nothing like they were, as the Pigeon River shattering a record by more than 5 feet from 1902. So things are going to get better, though, in the coming days. Spring City 68 to match Jellicoe. Knoxville at 5 degrees warmer to match Maynardville. Tonight we're down to 62 with a bunch of fog. And here is that fog forecast. It's actually going to start early morning and then spread out by 7 o'clock and be really pretty dense at times. Overall, about 20 to 30% chance of rain tomorrow. We'll stick with the 77 for a high temp. It's a lot like today's rainfall, except a couple of degrees warmer and maybe a few less showers, but pretty similar looking day. 76 Moorestown, 67 in the Smokies. Good news is for cleanup that there's not a lot of lightning potential in this setup. So Wednesday is even drier than that. Over the next several days, we're going to go back above average, which is 78. So we'll do that from Thursday on until Sunday. And then pretty mild lows, actually a few degrees above average. Now, what about the next few months? Above average temperatures into October, November, December. Still too early to say as far as the rainfall goes. In your First Alert 8-day planner, we're also tracking the tropics. More on that in the free to download First Alert weather app and in the next half hour, but it is a lot quieter heading towards the weekend. Another piece of breaking news from Helene, the Tennessee Valley Authority, saying they are going to close down the lock at Fort Loudon Dam to commercial traffic over the next several days because the water is going to remain so high. Check this out. This is the river gauge at the Pigeon, and the all-time record is that blue dotted line. We broke that by 5.5 feet at downtown Newport. The previous record from 1902 at the French Broad River, we almost got the all-time record from 1867, actually. We got the record from 1902. So this is our only leftover flood warning. It's basically along the French Broad River, downstream of Douglas Dam, of course, which is still the river. And then there were 4 all-time crests at 4 different spots on the French Broad River in North Carolina. As we get this brand new video in, the spillway's opening at Cherokee Lake for the first time since 2013. So the water's going to stay high for a while.
Ben, thank you. Our live coverage continues from Newport tonight. That's next. Recovery efforts are underway as East Tennessee recovers from catastrophic flooding. Our crews are live from all across East Tennessee. Thanks for joining us today for WVLT News at 4. I'm Brittany Tarwater. We continue tonight our team coverage. Our Will Puckett, following an update that we got today, new information from TEMA. Our Casey Willis is in Newport tonight, anchoring our coverage of the floods and the impact that it's having on East Tennessee. We'll get to you in just a moment, Casey, but we're going to start with our Will Puckett. Will, TEMA saying it's not wasting any time.
Yeah, Brittany, TEMA held a just more than 20-minute briefing just after noon on its recovery efforts going on across East Tennessee. We've seen since Friday pictures and videos of enormous amounts of water coming into communities like you can see right here in Newport, Hartford, all across Greene County and Unicoi counties too, just to name a couple of the areas. This afternoon, TEMA saying the most pressing issue they're facing is really threefold. Communication infrastructure, saying they're having trouble in communicating with people. Roadways, we've seen Interstate 40, Interstate 26, bridges, highways, and then water infrastructure. They're speaking long-term issues to that water infrastructure. TEMA's director, Patrick Sheehan, says cleanup efforts like this one won't happen overnight.
Flood recovery of this sort is a long, hard process, especially when we see the level of infrastructure damage that we've seen. For context for you, we still are doing disaster recovery things from the great 2010 flood of Tennessee. So 14 and a half years ago, this kind of flooding, and this was much faster moving with a lot more hard-hitting debris. We know there's a long road ahead.
To put that into context for you, Sheehan confirming TDOT is in the process of awarding emergency contracts to repair large stretches of significantly damaged roads across East Tennessee. This you're seeing now is Interstate 40 in Cott County. TDOT saying over the weekend their process is daunting as well.
Right now, where we are, we have 27 sections of TDOT, the TDOT system roadway sections that are closed. 14 state bridges closed. 5 of those are completely gone. We're still assessing the local bridges. Those have been impacted as well. We have, to this point, done a lot of pre-clearing and debris removal. That will continue to be ongoing.
Now, TEMA's director adding TDOT will request federal reimbursement for repairs where they are eligible to do so. Tonight, Interstate 40 remains closed from the Wilton Springs exit all the way across the Tennessee-North Carolina state line. Over there, the roadway's washed out worse in the video that you saw. Crews also continue to ask anyone and everyone, if you do not have to be on the roadway and you are not with a relief organization, do not get out on the roads. The director of the Tennessee Emergency Management Agency, Casey, saying right now they're having trouble getting their people where they need to get to because good-hearted folks are impeding the access and process they need. He says there will be time for people to help out, but right now, stay off the roads.
Yeah, absolutely, Will. And I think that we've gotten so many people that have reached out to us asking how they can help, where they can go to volunteer. And I think right now, people just need you to stay away from these disaster areas as they are trying to get this cleaned up and make sure that it's safe for everyone else. Will, thank you. And as he mentioned, there are so many roads, and there are roads and highways that are closed that are dangerous to drive on because they are not stable. Our Olivia Calthy is taking a closer look at some of those road closures for you.
During this historic flooding event, several roads in East Tennessee have been impacted, many completely shut down. As of 10 a.m., TDOT tells us 14 state route closures are in effect, along with 3 interstate closures. Now, what you are seeing behind me is Interstate 40 in Cott County. I-40 closed in both directions from mile marker 440 to North Carolina mile marker 3. Now, if you are looking to get into North Carolina, there is an alternate route. You can take I-81 north to I-77 south. And taking a closer look in now at some of the other closures. In Greene County, State Route 107, 350, and 351 are closed. The Nolichucky River Bridge is closed as well. Now in Washington and Unicoi counties, State Route 81 is impassable. Unicoi County I-26 is also closed both directions from mile marker 39, Irwin, to the North Carolina line. Carter and Johnson counties also have several road closures. State Route 143 is impassable in Carter County. Johnson County is seeing several closures as well. State Route 91 is impassable north of Mountain City. From North Carolina Department of Transportation, all roads in western North Carolina are considered closed. Now, we understand many of you have questions about the roads. We do not have an estimated timeline as to when they will reopen, but we do know this will take time. So as soon as we have updates, trust WVLT to be the first to let you know.
Olivia, thanks. And that is something, you know, these roads that are an issue. Now, when we were driving up our crew here this afternoon, we didn't have any issues on I-40, but that's because we got off the interstate before you got to the I-40 road closure. Now, when you get into Newport, most of those main roads are open, but when you get into the downtown area, you're going to see those closures as they are asking a lot of you to stay out of the way as they are trying to do some cleanup down in this area. Now, we also want to talk about North Carolina. A lot of the flooding we saw was because of rain that happened in North Carolina that flew downstream on the rivers there, and they are dealing with a lot of aftermath there. It is catastrophic in some of those counties in western North Carolina. In homes near Mountain Island Lake, that's in northwest Charlotte, Mount Holly were submerged. That's all the way in the Charlotte area. Over a dozen people had to be rescued over the weekend. We do want to get to our Al Conklin from our station in Charlotte.
Caleb and Macy Lambert and their 1-year-old daughter have always called this home, but that is until the record flood came over the weekend.
We saw everything we owned floating. We had to break down doors just to get in because refrigerators were knocked over. We had to just kick our way in, and we just saw everything floating. Our daughter's toys, her little chair, her favorite stuffed animal, just everything's floating. Cribs upside down, beds are wet, clothes are sopped. Nursery's gone. So, I mean, it was absolutely devastating.
The water got to about 4 feet in this house, and because the Lamberts didn't have flood insurance, they've gone ahead and cleared everything out. Now it's a game of wait and see.
We don't even know what we're waiting on, but we're waiting. We're waiting to see from FEMA what next steps to take. But we're just hurry up and wait. We want to do something, but we're just here. Everybody wants to help out by giving clothes and toys for our daughter, and we have nowhere to put it. We are currently house hopping. We're homeless, so money to put us up and Airbnbs or hotels or just cash is the biggest thing. We're kind of at a standstill.
Now, Macy says she has gone to the FEMA website, but Mecklenburg County is not included, though she says Gaston County, right across the river, is. All she knows is that their family right now is without a home.
Yeah, just a reminder, I-40 is closed. If you are headed to Charlotte, you're going to have to take another way to get there. You're going to have to go up through Virginia or down through Atlanta and some parts of the area because those interstates are closed. One of the things here that they are emphasizing, of course, you heard there, like the clothing donations aren't doing much. Kind of the same situation here in Newport because a lot of people who are displaced from their homes have nowhere to put those donations. So, Brittany, the big issue they need tonight, they need water because that water could be out for an undisclosed amount of time. That is a concern, and they will need volunteers to help at some point, but they do want you to stay out of the way here in downtown Newport. And their mayor also asking everyone to stop spreading rumors. He's saying that is hindering their ability to get some work done because they're trying to clear up some of the rumors that are happening. So they said pay attention to the credible sources that are giving you that information. Of course, we will make sure that everything that we are giving you here is verified, Brittany.
Yes, and that brings up a really good point, Casey. We do have a list of ways that people can help because we know a lot of folks who are at home right now are asking what they can do, where they can go. We have that list inside the WVLT News app, also on WVLT.tv if you prefer to go straight to the website. Casey, we're going to come back to you in just a few moments live from Newport as our coverage continues of the impacts felt especially hard here in East Tennessee. Continue in just a moment. Casey, thank you. How about the weather now? This is still part of this ever-changing story as we get to our first alert weather with our first alert meteorologist, Ben Cathy. Ben, it's not ready to dry up just yet, but this rainfall that we're seeing, not quite as severe as we saw, thankfully, last week.
Yeah, that's great news. It is still from Helene, believe it or not, days after the worst of the flooding, and we're watching the potential of another system to form, but for us, it'll be at least 10 days before anything gets close. So over the next week, we're looking at very light rain, probably less than 1/4 of an inch in most places. But right now, think about the face of a watch or a clock. You got this counterclockwise flow on the back of Helene. So especially the next couple hours when you have the biggest difference in temperatures between the clouds and the ground is when we'll have these little leopard spot showers. 75 in Gatlinburg, the warm spot. Don't say that very often. And again today going for 75 back in Knoxville with that 40% chance of rain over the next few hours. The next big thing, very dense fog in the morning, treating it like a mini first alert in the 8-day planner. The traffic's not necessarily done yet. We'll update you on 5 different storms out there right now, Brittany.
Wow. All right. It's hard to imagine after what we've just been through. Ben, thank you. Let's get to that first alert traffic now. We're watching some emergency crews off in the shoulder, I-40 just east of downtown. So heads up if that's part of your afternoon commute. May just want to be extra cautious around the bend. Here's the big story that Olivia was really touching on, how many roads are closed, and we expect this to be the story for quite some time. But Ben laid this out for us in a way that I think helps us visualize the impact of the storm. That's essentially where the storm came through and how it lines up with our road closures. Too many to list off right now, as there's such a significant portion of our roads that are closed, but we do have that list inside the WVLT News app specific to that area. Coming into downtown Knoxville, it's starting to get busy as it typically does, where 40 and 640 come together. That's really the biggest headache in the downtown area. And then Turkey Creek's getting busy if you're going west. Going the other direction, going east, Cedar Bluff to about the mall. So nothing too significant right now as folks are just starting to slow down in the areas that we tend to have the most congestion. It's also getting busy on Kingston Pike, which does happen, of course, this time of day, especially with all those red lights. We'll check in on traffic in the next half hour just after 5 o'clock. As we continue our coverage of Hurricane Helene, thousands of people have been forced to leave their homes. From East Tennessee, some are escaping to Middle Tennessee. We're hearing from one family who says they're counting their blessings, but also praying for those who are still here.
As catastrophic rainfall slammed into the eastern part of Tennessee, the Owens family was getting ready to take a nap. That was until a phone call and a house call changed their plans.
Our neighbor was hollering that we needed to evacuate. We didn't know how bad it was going to be.
Between the calls from loved ones and the amount of police closing down local streets in their Cocke County town, they decided to pack up and evacuate.
not knowing if our apartment was going to, get flooded or affected, and then not knowing exactly how bad the town was going to get, our friends.
That's high. Oh my God.
Think about and know that, them people are your neighbors, and not know what you can do for them.
The Owens are now in Dixon County, over 3.5 hours away from their home.
Even us being out here, we can't go home because there's no water.
As they watched roads wash away and towns they knew reduced to mud, their concerns turned to those still left behind.
You didn't know who was going to go under or come out of it. There's people that have been taking their boats out to help, and they're missing.
They say while the main event is over, Eastern Tennessee needs help. As thousands of first responders, rescue squads, and others mobilize to the east, they're asking the community to donate where they can and pray for those still yet to be found.
I prayed all night last night. I hope that everybody's okay. People make it alive out of this.
Already dealing with some fog out there. We'll have a lot more where that came from tomorrow. That's the next thing up and clearing up. The talk of another storm coming up in this first alert forecast after the break. Next thing up that I want to first alert you to is dense and long-lived fog potential tomorrow. You'll see the yellow and red alert lights coming on around 7 o'clock. That's visibility around 1/4 of a mile or less, maybe even down to a 1/16 of a mile or less. But this is the big overall news and weather story in the whole country. Of course, the aftermath of Helene. TVA says that Cherokee Lake is now spilling for the first time in 11 years. Also, some more breaking news that the commercial lock on Fort Loudon will be closed for a while because the water is still so high. You'd be hard-pressed to find anybody with deep roots in East Tennessee, like a lot of us at WVLT, myself included, that hasn't had huge family or friend impacts from this system, even though Knoxville spared the worst of it. Still high river levels on the Pigeon and then up along the Clinch and the Powell rivers up into Claiborne County and many nearby counties. There is still the spaghetti data for Helene. So yes, the rainfall today is from Helene's upper low right there across the Buckeye State, and then we're still getting the impact so many days later. So we are tracking very heavy rainfall from it, right? The heaviest rain was in western North Carolina, that all washing downstream into the Pigeon, the Little Pigeon, Little Tennessee. All these rivers hit so hard, including a bunch of record crests, and then these leopard spot showers from the upper parts of Helene right now. 73 in Knoxville off of that high of 75, which we expect to hit in the next hour or so. And then just a couple more of those leopard spot showers later tonight. Bus stop forecast, be mindful of the fog. The kids may want to have something really pretty neon on if you can, or even tying a ribbon around the backpack because, again, the fog will be dense. So we've got the brightly colored gear out here for your Tuesday. On to Tuesday afternoon, 77 in Scruffy City, Knoxville. 80 Etowah and great-grandpa Kathy's hometown. Oneida 75, Clinton 77, Tazewell 76, Hartford at 76. Wednesday almost exclusively dry. There are just a couple of tiny showers. Then we'll send this off here. Not exactly perfectly timed, but West and Alcoa, our game of the week, 78. So we got 5 different systems, including Isaac, Joyce, and Kirk, plus another one off the coast. And then a lot of you have been talking about this. No immediate threat from that Gulf storm at all. If we did see any of it, it would be at least 10 to 12 days away and towards the middle to end of next week. The cold front Monday will suppress a lot of that initially. A little cooler, though, by early to mid next week.
Ben, thank you. Our live coverage continues from the areas hit hardest from Hurricane Helene and the community's efforts to pick up the pieces. Our team coverage of the impact of Hurricane Helene on East Tennessee continues tonight with our Casey Wheelis in Newport. And Casey, you have some insight. You've been talking to some people on how people all across the region are stepping up to help those hit hardest.
Yeah, some of the
latest information coming from the mayor is that this area is labeled a federal disaster area. So at some point they hope to get some federal relief and also some state relief as well. But for right now, they are getting a lot of relief. They said there's a TEMA representative, a TVA representative, and all of the local agencies here on the ground in Cocke County, as well as we've seen crews from Knox County, Loudoun County, Blount County, all of them coming up to help and do what they can here to help with the recovery efforts in Newport. And of course, we've been talking about the water so much. That is a main issue. And the mayor tells us that TVA is actually sending in some supplies, or a device rather, that should help them with getting water back to customers. The problem is that the water is not safe to do so. There could be bacteria contamination. And another good point here is all this flood water, as they're cleaning up, is not clean water. It is flood waters that ran through buildings and roads and all sorts of things. So there's a lot of safety and health hazards out here as well, and that is the main reason why they are asking people to stay clear of the downtown Newport area unless you own a business or anything like that. And that is one of the main concerns here. Now, some of the other things that the mayor talked about, he asked to stop spreading rumors. He said every time these rumors get spread, they have to take the time to then debunk them. And he said just look for those credible sources to give you those information. And we told you earlier on Friday that the Cocke County Sheriff's Department lost 7 squad cars to the floods, and we're told that different counties in East Tennessee, including Coffee County, donated some squad cars for them to have. So they now have 4 extra squad cars, and that will help them be more accessible throughout the area. The water right now distribution is happening at the old Walmart. That's on West Broadway, and that is going on from 11 to 6 daily. Now, they do say they can only give 2 cases per household. Brittany, when I stopped by there on my way down to downtown Newport, the city of Gatlinburg was there, the fire department was there. They were dropping off 2 truckloads of cases of water and forklifts to kind of organize that. So they are hoping to definitely help people here in Newport.
Yeah, it's just amazing to see the response and people who are lining up, quite literally, trying to help out. Now, they are asking crews to stay off the roads, or they are asking, roads, but we do have a list. If you want to help, donation drop-off sites, all right now inside your WVLT News app. Ben?
And so a few showers out there at the moment that are tied to Helene, but not nearly severity. We've already seen a lot of our lakes climb about 8 feet. But the next thing up is fog. Spencer has you covered on the fog timeline coming up after the break.